There we go. Thanks, Mel. Thanks for the reminder. So with that, I am Samantha Grieve, your hostess with the mostess, and I ask you all if you can please mute yourself tonight during the presentation, that is, and it will be from 8 to 9 p.m. As mentioned, if you tuned in a little bit later after I mentioned, there is a chat here, so if you have any questions that come up, please don't be shy, just put them in there, and Melissa Seguin, also a nutritionist, she's going to do her very best to answer all of them. And then, as I mentioned, at the end, if anything wasn't answered or you have more questions you would like to pose, Susan and Shawn and Melissa have all agreed to stay around, so we hope that you'll join us, but if you have to go, totally get it. I mentioned also to grab a notebook and a pen, or maybe your smartphone, so that you can take some notes, because we do have some juicy information to share. So with that, as a healthy type 1 diabetic for over 23 years now, on the insulin pump for 20 of those years, I really am always wanting to spread healthy living, and I really encourage others to take action. And I have to say, I love mentoring diabetics. I go like this because they're my people. But with that, I love to also mentor just anybody who's on a journey to just want to take action to get healthier. And of course, with it being November and being Diabetes Awareness Month, I'm just so thrilled to have Susan and Shawn here with me tonight to really share their wisdom, so many years of nutrition knowledge with them, surrounding blood sugar specifically and the balance of it, and optimizing our mood and energy. And really, that is something that is just super, super important, not just for me being diabetic, but for every single one of us. And Shawn, actually, so not only is she a holistic nutritionist, she's a mother of 4, but she's also been deeply impacted by type 1 diabetes, and in a different way from myself. So I'm going to pass the baton over to Shawn. So thank you all.
And I'm just going to wait for my presentation to come up. Well, Samantha's bringing up the PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, so I was impacted. It was 12 years ago when one of my children, they don't like to be talked about. I have 4 children. They are now 25, 27, 29, and 31. Can everyone hear me well? I've got it further away so you can't see my eye. And one of them was diagnosed with diabetes 1. It was a scary time for mom. It was shocking. You just don't know that these things are going to happen. There's no warning for diabetes 1. So when they were diagnosed, stressful. I've got 3 other children that I had to take care of, and this one that I had to take more care of, and running to the school and checking blood sugar. And I knew my nutrition, but going through this journey, you learn your nutrition. So with that, I'll get started, and you'll hear me say switch, and that's because I'm telling Samantha to switch for me. So tonight I have 35 minutes, and it's going to be a broad overview, and don't think you have to take all the notes. There's going to be lots of words, and just take what you think you need to from this presentation tonight. I always say when you listen to a presentation, weed through it, and if you can take 1 or 2 things, or even just one, it's been a successful night. Taking too many notes, you never go back to those notes. So here we go on part number 1. What we're going to talk about is a little bit of an overview of what is diabetes 1, 2, and 3. Then the second part will be how blood sugar can affect your overall mood, energy, and overall health. And then part 3, helpful hints to help you manage your blood sugar to improve your mood, energy, and overall health. Switch. So these are just some statistics, because I don't think we really understand how diabetes is impacting us. In Canada, 1 in 3 Canadians, that's 11 million, have diabetes or prediabetes. That's an enormous number when you think of it, yet most people who have prediabetes do not know they have prediabetes. I've had clients where I'll look at their blood work, and their blood sugar have been high for 10, 12 years. They were told it was rising, but they didn't take note of it, and you don't want it to rise, as you'll see. And there's so many things that you can do, simple things, to bring that back down. So if you think that every 3 minutes someone in Canada is diagnosed, so think by the end of this presentation how many people will have been diagnosed, and still the percentage that don't know from those who have been diagnosed. So 1.5 million Canadians have diabetes 2. 6 million are living with prediabetes. And you can see on the right side, it does impact your life. Blood sugar impacts every part of your life because that sugar is in your bloodstream, and that bloodstream feeds every cell in your body. So you'll see it does the strokes, heart attacks, kidney damage, and that's where we get our amputations with your eyes and your fingers and your toes. Canadian statistics. So less than 50% of all Canadians can identify with half of the early warning signals. And I didn't know, but when you're going to diabetes 1 and 2 are different, my son, he went very quickly in 48 hours. I just thought I was going to be dealing with my first moody teen. That's all I thought. And it's quite a story. And he was actually almost near death when we rushed him to the hospital because even with what I knew, I was not aware. Only 1/3 of Canadians realize that it can affect strokes. 40% identify it with heart disease. And those 20 years of age today face a 50% chance of developing diabetes in their lifetime. So this is an important talk tonight. And diabetes 2, as you'll see, is what accounts for most of the diabetics. Next slide. So there's an easy one. 10% of our diabetics are diabetic 1, and 90% are diabetic 2. And we'll explain this further. Next. So what is type 1 diabetes? Well, it was once known as juvenile or insulin dependent. That's an autoimmune disease where your pancreas is no longer making insulin. And you'll learn what insulin does for those who don't know. So you have an autoimmune disease, your body does not make diabetes, so you will have to take insulin for the rest of your life. Despite active research, type 1 diabetes still has no cure, but it can be managed if you know how to manage, and we'll give some tips tonight. And it can be managed very well. So actually, sometimes our diabetic 1s, because they know they have diabetes, can manage better than the diabetes 2 who don't know or they're not taking it seriously. Next slide. So here are some symptoms of diabetes 1. Now, don't go and think, oh my goodness, but these can be some of the symptoms, and I miss them. Increased thirst. I thought my son was just getting thirsty. Frequent urination. I thought, he's going through puberty. There you go. Bedwetting. No, he did not do. Extreme hunger. Well, he was a young guy. And I thought he's just increasing his hunger because of that age of his life. A lot of diabetics will become diabetic at that pre-adolescent age because it's such a stressful time in their body. And stress can drive it. Unintended weight loss, well, you think they have a growth spurt. Well, that's why they're losing weight. Irritability and mood changes, there are your teens. So you would think, it's just because of what they're going through, fatigue and weakness. Well, maybe they're sleeping more. Blurred vision. All of these things. And then in our females, they can have more of a vagina yeast infections. Those are things that we would just go, nothing's happening. And I did. What is diabetes 2? Totally different. Diabetes 2 is more common and occurs when the body becomes resistant to the insulin you're giving it. Now, I'm going to go out there and step out and just say that diabetes 1, juvenile diabetes, that can be called diabetes 2. I really don't like calling it type 2 diabetes. I prefer to call it unmanaged blood sugar. So manage your blood sugar. In the case of ones, no, they have to be on insulin. So here are the complications that can happen that we went through. This is an enormous list of complications. Again, when that blood sugar is high in your bloodstream, it can wreak havoc. Your blood should stay at a certain number, which you'll see in a moment. So when you're taking more sugar to these areas, sugar is void of nutrients. Sugar is a sharp molecule. It can do damage on its way to these organs, and it can damage the organs when they get there. And there's everything from coronary artery disease, heart attack, stroke, narrowing, blood pressure. You are seeing the cascade of things that can happen with diabetes 1 and diabetes 2. Next slide. Diabetes 3, this is a new thing. It's funny, when mine was fine, when I send my PowerPoint to somebody else, you can see what happens. The pictures move. I don't know why, but that's okay. Diabetes 3, some are saying that it correlates with Alzheimer's. And the reason why is your brain, just like your body, only wants a finite amount of sugar. It doesn't want your sugar to be too high or too low. And if you bring too much sugar into that brain, it may predispose you to a thing that they're calling diabetes 3, but we also know that it can have an effect on your Alzheimer's and dementia. And those are the percentage of those in those age groups that can have it. So another reason to maybe watch the amount of sugar, the amount of stress that we have in our day. It's really important to know your numbers. Like I said, I have a lot of clients who come in and I'll ask them for the last 2 or 3 blood tests, and I will notice that their numbers, that their blood sugar had been high for years and years and years. So it's nice to know what those numbers should be, and ask your doctor what your blood levels are and start taking a close look at those. Next slide. So here it's showing you the numbers. So these are called your A1Cs. There's a glucose test. These A1Cs are actually a blood test. It's a fasting blood test, and they'll tell what was your average blood sugar over the last 3 months, 2 to 3 months. So normal is about 5.5. Oh, back on that. You're going too fast for me, Sam. And then at risk, 5.5 to 5.9. So that's at risk. And I see so many of my clients, they'll have a number between 5 and 5.9. They go, well, I'm not really into my pre-diabetic. I'm okay. I'll just eat less sugar. But it's a little bit more than that. You really have to understand what that sugar is doing and the damage that it can do. You can see from 5 to 5 up to 6.5, you are going from a normal blood sugar to full-blown diabetes 1. Oh, next slide. So this little picture here, I love it because it's got the blood vessels. And in the first one, you can see hypoglycemia. That's low blood sugar. So the little white dots are your blood sugar. The middle one is your normal blood sugar. And then we have the hyperglycemia, or the high blood sugar. And we're going to stay on this slide for a little bit of time. Remember, 29% of Canadians are living with prediabetes or diabetes. The one in the center, when you do your normal blood sugar, if you got it done by the doctor, it might say something like 5.5. But what does that correlate to? That actually correlates to about 1 to 2 teaspoons of sugar in your bloodstream. But that's your entire bloodstream, from your head to your toes, spread out through your vascular system. Do you need it? Yes. We need blood sugar in our bloodstream because that's what gives us energy. And actually, your brain only works on that blood sugar. It doesn't want too much. It doesn't want too little. It wants just the right amount. When you put too much blood sugar in there, and your blood sugar goes up from either stress, imagined or real, or what you eat, it does not make you feel good. So my child, when they actually were playing basketball, they couldn't dribble properly. They couldn't even hit the backboard. We didn't know what was going on. So that's where that eyesight, it affects your brain, the thought process. You get moody. So those who know the way cars used to be, it's like flooding your carburetor. When I was younger, we would say flooding your tank. So anybody on this call tonight who had a car back in the day when we would flood our tank, Samantha, I'll explain this to you. So we would get in the car and we'd be pumping our gas, trying to get it to start. But if you pumped it too much, you'd put too much gas in the lines. What did we have to do? We actually had to sit there and wait for the gas to leave the carburetor, and it took time. This is the same with your blood sugar. If your blood sugar goes up, it has to take time to get out. If you are a diabetic 1, a diabetic 2, that's why a diabetic 1 will take insulin to help that. A diabetic 2 won't know that their blood sugar is going up. And it might be through motion or something you can bring it down, but it's going to stay up. Your tank will stay flooded. Pre-diabetic means that your blood sugar has a higher level, and without lifestyle changes, your high blood sugar, your prediabetes, will probably progress to diabetes 2. Next slide. So part 2, now that we kind of know what is diabetes 1, 2, and 3, number 1 is an autoimmune, number 2 is through lifestyle, and number 3 means that blood sugar can affect your brain. And part 2 will say, well, how does high blood sugar affect your mood and your energy and your overall health, and what causes it to rise? Next slide. So this is a slide showing what food can do. Mind you, we won't get into it a lot tonight, but stress can do it itself. Just having a stressful thought, being stressed out yourself, understanding what is stress. Stress can be too much sleep, too little, too much food, too little, too much exercise, too little. It can affect your blood sugar. But this is where food can affect your blood sugar. And you can see the red roller coaster. Those are your carbohydrates. We know we shouldn't be eating too much bread and pastries and cakes and sugar. And what it does when you eat those foods, they're already broken down and they have high sugar content, so they spike your blood sugar. And then when your blood sugar spikes, if you're not diabetes 1, so if you're diabetes 2, it means it's going to react slower. If you're just everybody else on this line who does not have diabetes 1 or 2, your blood sugar is going to spike, but your body has insulin. So it's going to go in there and pull that sugar out of your bloodstream, but it can make you go low. You don't want to go low, because anytime you go high, you go low. And anytime you go low, you want to eat something to get your blood sugar up, because your brain is saying, I only work on sugar. I need to have sugar. So we all have our triggers. Some people eat chocolate cake. Some people eat jujubes. Some people like Susan eat chocolate almonds. So it'll be something that we crave, and you'll go to that and you'll be eating it going, I shouldn't be eating this. Why am I eating this? I know better. And it's probably because your blood sugar has gone low. When your blood sugar goes low, that is your willpower. Your willpower has gone low. So what you want to do is never have too much sugar in your bloodstream through stress or food choices that make it spike, which is going to make it drop. And then you'll grab something else, and you can see you're on this roller coaster, and it does not feel good. Your brain does not feel good. You get very moody. Your energy goes up and down, and you're chasing it all day. What you want is to eat things like your fruits and vegetables. That gives you that green line. Oh, yes, some fruit comes with sugar in it. It does, the glucose sugar, but what it is, it comes with a lot of fiber in it. And when you have healthy food that might have a little bit of sugar in it, it's going to be absorbed into your bloodstream very slowly. Therefore, the sugar is given a little bit, and it's keeping, like those arteries I showed you, the one in the middle, it's keeping those sugars at a beautiful number, so that you never feel overtaxed, you never feel moody, you feel really good. How good do you feel? You have energy, you never get upset, you don't yell at anybody. That's what we want. That would be the goal. Next slide. So what are those foods that can make you go on that red roller coaster? You hear different things like high carbohydrate food, simple carbs, or refined carbs. Those are the 3 words I used here, so you know they're all the same. What it is, yes, are those foods under the simple carbs. Those are our junk foods. Those are our foods that come in with no nutrition. They come in already processed. Your body doesn't have to break them down. When you eat a food that's already broken down for you, it comes into the body, and the body goes, well, I don't have to do anything with this. And it takes all that glucose and floods your blood sugar, your bloodstream with blood sugar. On the other side, where you see those fruits and vegetables, and they can also be nuts and seeds and legumes and beans and whole grain rice, first of all, you have to chew them a lot. So now you're going to be using up energy. When they get into the stomach, the body has to break them down. Digestion takes a lot of energy. And in that energy, your body's using calories. That's great. It also, because the fiber, it's a slow uptake of that sugar. So anything on that right side, they may have a little bit of sugar in them. These ones don't. These are your vegetables, but yes, your fruit and your berries may. They still have carbs in them, but because of the way they're processed, they manage your blood sugar for you, and they spike your blood sugar just that little bit, that green line we saw, and you have energy for hours. The goal, I tell people, if you eat a meal and you're hungry within 2 hours or even 3, that meal either has not been enough, it's not been nourishing your body, and it's probably been filled with simple carbs. Like my men just ate, because I didn't cook dinner tonight, and passing into my office, I don't even want to tell you what they were eating. My blood sugar went up just getting angry at them, but I didn't. I came over here and said, do what you want tonight. But they do. So carbohydrates, I put that little diagram up because I really want people to understand. On the left, low blood sugar. In the middle, regular blood sugar. And on the right, high blood sugar. You eat foods that are processed, they flood you with those little white dots. Those do all the damage in our body. So the first bullet, when you eat carbs, they're broken down into simple sugars, and these sugar enter your bloodstream. That's the purpose of carbohydrates. We have three kinds of food. We have protein, we have fat, we have carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, there's a whole host of them that are good for us, like you just saw. Our vegetables, our fruits, our berries, our legumes. So when people say, I'm going to cut out carbs, don't cut out carbs. You need them. Just cut out the bad carbs, because the carbs give you energy. They keep those dots in the middle beautiful, and your brain wants those. If you don't bring in good carbs, and you're just bringing in fat and protein, you are going to be hungry all the time. And it's not good for so many reasons, because those are not your healthiest foods. So in the middle one, as your blood sugar level rises, your pancreas will release a hormone called insulin. So that's us who don't have diabetes 1. We make insulin. So yay. Samantha not, my child not. So when they take food into their bodies, it's hard. They have to regulate. What did I eat? How much did I eat? Every second of their day has to be managed. And it is not easy. So you don't ever want to go there. You know, some people are really abusing their bodies and their immune systems are being compromised. And we're having adults getting diabetes 1. No reason for that. Those are the diabetic 2s that it's really having a hard time on their bodies. So diabetic 1s, every morsel they eat, they have to watch. Was it fat, protein, carbs? How many carbs? How much sugar? How much insulin should I make? Us, you just eat a piece of cake and you go, well, that tasted great. And you go on with your life. Oh, you're getting those little blood vessels on the right, whereas there's too much sugar in your system. You're not thinking about it. The damage is being done, but you don't, because your pancreas is already making insulin. Your poor pancreas. If you keep eating junk food, your poor pancreas is either just going to get so tired of putting out so much insulin, or your cells are going to get so tired of opening and closing, because your choice is to eat a lot of those simple carbs, which drives your insulin, that your pancreas just says, I'm out, I'm tired. And that's the beginning of diabetes 2. These are the symptoms of low glycemia, low blood sugar. So when your blood sugar has gone high and then it goes low, these are the symptoms on both of those. Shaking, sweating, anxious, dizziness. Samantha, you probably know, being a diabetic 1, this is how you know that, oh my goodness, I've got to regulate my blood sugar. Some of us, we don't have those symptoms until something has gone wrong. So if you're eating a bad diet and your blood sugar at your doctor is showing a little high, take it seriously and start making choices. Start cutting down on those simple carbs. Bring in the complex carbs. Bring in your fruits and your vegetables and your berries and your whole grains. Because sometimes those symptoms that you're experiencing could be a sign that something is wrong with your blood sugar. Next slide. How to read your food label. So this is really important to understand. Oh, my little guy, like these pictures are just flopping everywhere.
So weird.
This is so funny. They just move on their own. They have a life of their own.
It's like
Reading,
diabetes.
reading food labels is really important. I'll show you in a moment. So learning how to read your food labels. So you think, okay, my blood sugar is a little high. I'm speaking to those who don't have diabetes 1. I'm speaking to those with high blood sugar, and they might be pre-diabetic, or they might even be diabetic 2. You've got to learn how to read your food labels. You've got to have an understanding of how much sugar is in your diet. Does anyone know, before I tell you, how much sugar in teaspoons you can have in a day? How much can your body handle in a day? For most of us as women on this call, about 6 teaspoons. Over and above naturally occurring sugar that's in your fruit and in your milk products. So about 6 teaspoons. So that's like 2 teaspoons at every meal. What? Next slide. Now it gets a little sadder. So here we are. Well, thank goodness I knew what it said, because this is what I just said. So there's the woman, about 6 teaspoons, men about 9. Yes, if you're athletic, maybe a little bit more, but you got to tell me exactly what you're doing. But the most important thing now, write this down. 4 grams equals a teaspoon. You've got to understand that, because when you're reading a food label, all you ever see is sugar in grams. And sometimes that means nothing to us. You look at a pop and it says, I don't know, like 36 grams in a tin. Well, what does that mean? You divide it by 4, and that will equal your teaspoons. And you are well above, with that 1 tin of pop, above what you could have in your full day. Next slide. So this is how you read it. A nutrition label sometimes look like this. Up at the top, your serving size. So when it says, say, you're doing maybe a healthy bread, but this is, it isn't because the fiber is so low. This is a poor piece of bread. So if you're having one slice, then you know your sugar is 1 gram. But if you're having 6 slices, then that is more than 1 gram. So you have to know how much of the food you're eating and then go down to the grams. So if you're having a quarter of what it says, then you have to multiply the grams by 4. Then you have to divide by 4 to know how many teaspoons. And the next slide is quite telling. This is how many teaspoons of sugar are in some common foods. And we wouldn't think about this. So remember, women, we can have about 6 teaspoons over and above our natural sugars in our fruits and in our lactose sugar from our milk products. This is huge. Look at that apple fritter, 5 teaspoons. 1 medium cappuccino, what? 12 teaspoons. You wonder why 1 in 2 Canadians are becoming diabetic. And even on all those products you see out there that say low fat, but let's bring the healthy fats back in. Low fat means they've taken the fat out of a product, but you still have to have satiety on the tongue. So they actually put more sugar in there so you'll enjoy it. So things that say low fat usually mean high sugar. When you look at your yogurts, you'll be shocked at how much sugar is in those yogurts, thinking that, well, I'm not having any fat. To me, I'm watching sugar. Well, I'm watching fats too, but I'm watching sugars because I don't think that's where we think. And look at those jujubes. I was addicted to jujubes for 20 years. We're not even going to tell about my story. Next slide.
I can see my mom's face right now.
Jujubes, that are horrific. But I was a dancer, so we were told they don't have any fat in them. But I have 3 root canals, so look at what I'm doing. So notice how I say, first of all, how much is in your favorite snack? Do realize I'm not even calling these Fruit Loops cereal. They are a snack and they're a horrible snack. So let's look at what would they have in them, because I have some moms who do feed their children these because on the front it says fortified. And fortified to me on a box means it's so depleted they had to fortify it with something to be able to sell it to a human being for consumption. That's what I think. But when you look up here, you think the serving size, so it's 1 cup. There's probably 2 or 3 cups in this child's bowl. So the 1 cup follow all the way down. In 1 cup, there's 12 grams of sugar. I did this once at a school. Once I was giving a talk and I had, I forget what cereal, and I had different bowls. I looked like Goldilocks. And I would pick out a guy and I'd say, come to the front. I said, okay. Oh, it was Vector cereal because everyone thinks it's healthy. And I said, pick the bowl that you eat out of, pour your bowl. And he did. When I measured it, it was 7 cups. He was actually eating 7 cups of cereal. If it was this, you take 7 times 12. Are you doing the math for me, Samantha? 7 times 12, and then divide that by 4.
That's 84 divided by 4. We're looking at 21.
21 teaspoons
21, and he's only allowed 9.
Yeah, so, and that's just in his cereal before he goes, and gets his cappuccino on his way to class.
So more than 2.3 over, yeah.
So I think my clients are always quite shocked at the amount of sugar that they're bringing in. And when you balance it, you just feel so good. You feel so good, but we don't understand it. So here's 2 little I took some of them up, but I kept these ones. Look, this is carbs. I just want you to look at these numbers because these are not good numbers, by the way, in case you're wondering, well, that's only 46. These are carbs. These are our simple carbs. You do not want to have food this high. That rice is probably a white rice. You want to have, brown rice, something with some nutrition in it. So just take a look at some of these numbers. And the next slide, I'm going to show you vegetables. Look at those numbers. Can you see why as nutritionists, I always say, we say, well, I have to eat more fruits, vegetables, and berries. No. You need to eat more vegetables, berries, and fruit. I actually say it in that order because I really want people to eat more vegetables. Go to the slide before for a second, Samantha, just so we can see those numbers again in case you forgot. That was not 4 and 6, that was 46. So these foods are very, very high in their complex carbs. Back to the vegetables. Because if we said it once, we said it again, and grandma told you to eat your vegetables, This is why. But there's other things in our fruits, vegetables, and berries that are even more important to the fact that they're coming all these nutrients, but very low carbs. They also have the high fiber, which slows even those a little bit of carbs to allow you to feel good for hours after consumption. Next slide. So part 3, some healthy tips. And I've got 6 minutes. I think I can do this. Healthy tips to manage it. So now we know what diabetes 1, 2, and 3 is. We kind of know how we're going to feel. Let's go to part number 3. So steps to balancing your blood sugar. We know all of this. This is nothing new. You have to eat a balanced diet. Lots of plants, in case you didn't know. So lots of plants, healthy oils, lean protein. Slow processed, high inflammatory foods. Those are those ones I showed you with the numbers of 56 and higher instead of the 2s and 1s. Exercise regularly. Your body has sugar in its bloodstream. That's your energy to move and think. So we have to move more, get deep sleep, because if you wake up in the morning with a lack of sleep, you're in a state of stress. And that state of stress will drive your sugar high all day. That's a whole sleep talk. So you do need moderate exercise, and I mean moderate, enjoyable exercise. You must enjoy what you're doing. Should I mention Nordic pole walking? No, I won't. So you need moderate, enjoyable exercise. Moderate means if you exercise too intense, your body will start increasing your blood sugar. I can't go into detail now, but here's an example. You can have a young guy with diabetes 1, he's playing basketball, he's feeling good that day, he's not playing too hard, he's actually calm, and he's actually on the sidelines checking his blood sugar, and his blood sugar is stabilized, or maybe he hasn't eaten for a while, it's starting to go down. So he's actually eating a little bit of a banana. Notice I didn't say whole banana. So he's eating a little bit of a banana to get his blood sugar up to go on that court. Or he's having a really bad game, he's playing really hard, and he comes off and his blood sugar's high. That's the life of a diabetic 1. Your blood sugar is going up and down. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason for it. So those who don't have diabetes 1 and your blood sugar is a little high, you don't want diabetes, or you have diabetes 2, manage your sugar. Manage your diet. Next slide, and next slide. Sleeping, I did mention, so listen to this. Less than 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night can raise your risk of many things, including that diabetes 2, because it decreases your insulin sensitivity. So when you're eating a food that's high in sugar, like we saw in that slide, and your poor pancreas is trying to pump out the insulin, your body will not be as sensitive to it. The pancreas has to make more. That's just one reason the sleep is. And lack of sleep just raises your stress hormones, which makes you hungrier. And sometimes when we're hungry and hangry, we are not looking for that bowl of broccoli. We are looking for that food that's just going to fill us up really quickly, which is the sugary snacks and that. And then stress. Never forget that stress, you can be sitting there relaxed and your blood sugar could go up with a stressful thought. I know somebody says, Mrs. Nisbet, I walk to work. He's doing intermittent fasting. I'm not telling you to, but he chooses not to have breakfast in the morning. He walks to work 20 minutes so he can stabilize his blood sugar. He gets to work, his blood sugar's up. That's frustrating for our diabetic 1s. Blood sugar is all over. For us, we would know if we probably did some moderate exercise that it would be managed and go down. But your stress, excess stress, can actually raise your stress hormone cortisol, which also raises your blood sugar. So take moments through the day, no matter who you are. Take moments to eat, take moments for yourself, take moments to breathe when you're feeling stressed out. It will help manage your blood sugar, because in that stressful moment, if your blood sugar goes up, your pancreas, because you're diabetic 2 or not diabetic 1, is going to drop, and now you're going to eat anything in sight. So managing your stress, and eat a healthy diet. We know it. Look at my words, my font, what went here, but it's all good. Healthy, balanced diet. We just know we need to eat a balanced diet to manage your blood sugar. High sugar will drive it. Simple carbs will drive it. Carbohydrates that are junk food will drive it. Eating balanced plants, good protein, fiber, healthy fats at every meal is what we should do. Next slide. So These are the processed foods I want you to stay away from. We now know why. They're going to drive your blood sugar. I know you want to have those. We're going into December. I had a lady the other day say, Shawn, I just ate my second box of cookies. I said, why? She says, well, this time of year, I always have to have treats in the house in case somebody stops by. And I said, but nobody's stopping by. You don't need to buy all those cookies. So we're just going to say no to those. Next slide. You have to eat more whole foods. So this is what I'm talking about. We all know what they are, but just in case, healthy oils, green leafy vegetables, your nuts and your seeds, your good fish, your fruits, your vegetables, your berries. When people say, I can't eat the foods in the slides before, what am I going to eat? This is what you're going to eat, and you will enjoy. Next slide. So also with our eating, being a nutritionist, I do believe in supplementation too, because we need to supplement our diets. And here are two of my favorites. Susan, we actually have four of our favorites. I'm just going to do two of them here because they do affect diabetes. Vitamin D, you know about it now. Everyone knows about vitamin D. You cannot get enough from the sun, especially now. We only make it 3 months of the year from mid-June to mid-August. So right now we're heading into December. We've been 3 months without making vitamin D. So vitamin D is a supplement. You might be eating the best diet you know, but vitamin D treatment has improved glycemic control in insulin sensitive people with type 1 and type 2 and normal individuals. We want our body to stay sensitive to the insulin that's producing. And if we eat too much junk, the pancreas is going to get lazy and tired, and you will not be able to absorb that insulin. And then you're going to drive your blood sugar up, which could lead to diabetes too. The other thing is a whole food supplement. We do have our favorite. This is because that blood sugar, the sugar in your bloodstream, that all those little white dots we saw, they increase oxidative stress. And that oxidative stress actually tears away at your arteries. They can cause damage to the arteries, which will be healed with cholesterol. They can do damage to those arteries when they get really small, going to your eyes and your toes and your fingers. That's how people get bleeds. Our bloodstream was never supposed to have that much sugar in it, let alone in those very narrow arteries that feed our eyes and our toes and our fingers. And that's why we get amputations and lose sight with diabetes 1 and 2. So oxidative stress can develop into the age-related diseases like arthritis, diabetes, dementia. There are all of the things. Antioxidants are found in our fruits, vegetables, and our berries. And what they do is they help to reverse these. And that's really important. So just to remember, type 2 diabetes, this I heard on a lecture I heard from a very famous diabetic doctor, is type 2 diabetes a human physiological response to an abnormal diet? Isn't that awesome? It's just your physiological response for a poor diet. Is diabetes 2 a disease? No, diabetes 1 is an autoimmune disease. Diabetes 2, high blood sugar, maybe it's just an abnormal response. I mean, your response to an abnormal diet. There we go. There's your vegetables. And look at over there. Look at that pop. 52. How many cups of spinach can you have for 52 cups of spinach for a glass of pop? What? Next slide. There's just some, these weren't supposed to be on here. Well, that's just your root vegetables. Keep going. They went even out of order. There's your fruit. This was one reason that I added a whole food supplement into my diet, because my son didn't eat vegetables, but he ate these. But I knew that if he ate those, he could go high. So it allowed me to bring, and allows me now, 12 years later still, to bring all these nutrients without bringing in the blood sugar or raising his blood sugar. Next slide. Let's see what else showed up here. Oh my goodness, that slow showed up too. These are slides I had taken off. What? But there you go. Oh, and now we're getting to Susan's. Go back one. Go back one there. So just know your condiments too. I had a really pretty, no, I think I did the last slide, was the fifth, just a bad diet can cause all these things to happen. So with that, I hope that clears up a little bit. Diabetes 1, 2, and 3, the foods that can increase your blood sugar and foods that can keep your blood sugar balanced. And with that, I hand it over to Susan Baker.
Thank you, Shawn. Sam, you can go back one. Can you hear me? My volume's fine.
I can hear you. You're great.
Okay, I tend to
Yep.
shout. Hi, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for your attention to this. And Shawn, thank you so much for all of that information. For those people for whom it's new, it's such a great overview. For people who've heard it before, it's so great to have reinforcement of, what we already know. So, and it really is so simple. So thank you for keeping it simple, Shawn. Shawn and I could talk about this stuff for hours. We could get into the research. We can talk about fruits and veggies. So I'm going to just spend a little bit of time talking about how we apply this to real life with tools. As mentioned, I'm Susan Baker. I'm a holistic nutritionist and have been for almost 20 years. And, putting it into practice in my real life with my real family, with my real kids. And I'll get into that in a moment. But this is a picture that I love. Your best defense truly are these fruits and vegetables in particular. And what we know that's unique to fruits and vegetables is this category of nutrient called antioxidants. Yes, fruits and veggies have vitamins and minerals. Shawn talks about carbohydrates. They've got fiber, they've got water, but they have antioxidants, and that's a unique class of nutrients that help prevent disease and actually heal the body. Next. The news isn't that fruits and vegetables are good for you. It's that they are so good for you, they could save your life, right? This is actually, an old passage. So we know, you can keep clicking. We know that fruits and veggies are important. Here's partly why. The way we grow and the nutrient density of our soil has changed significantly in the last 50 to 100 years. And it's just a fact. So the same bowl of spinach from 1953, you'd have to eat 43 bowls of spinach in order to get the equivalent in nutrient. And that's just the state of affairs right now. And so really it makes it a lot harder for us to get that same amount of nutrition from the foods we're eating. We have to look at making really smart choices and bringing in tools into our toolkit to actually boost our nutrition. Next. Phytochemicals. Oh, there's a bit of a lap over there. Phytochemicals equals plant nutrition. That's literally what it means. You've heard this before. Eat the colors of the rainbow. I love this image and this phrase so much because what we've learned in the science lab is that all the different colors actually represent different phytonutrients. And so you've heard of things like beta carotene and lycopene and resveratrol, perhaps. Sulforaphane is from cruciferous vegetables. I could go on and on. And so there are hundreds and thousands of these phytonutrients that literally show up as the rainbow of colors in fruits and vegetables. That's where we get them. And that's why we have to eat a variety. Next. Most holistic practitioners, however, although we say diet is priority, right? It always is. So we always say nothing replaces eating a healthy diet, but it can be challenging. We have food that isn't necessarily as nutrient dense as it used to be. And so how can we take all that nutrition from those fruits and vegetables and actually put it into a supplement? Is there something possible? I mean, this is an apple. It's showing you a whole long list of some of the phytonutrients found in an apple. Whereas when you pick up a regular multivitamin, you're getting maybe 20 different vitamins and minerals and not necessarily the whole food synergy of nutrition that comes from whole foods. And so what are our solutions? Thanks, Sam. So simplifying our supplements. Most holistic practitioners really simplify it down to 3 or 4 key supplements. So foundational supplements, the first one listed here, a whole food or fruit and vegetable product like Shawn mentioned. So I'm going to mention Juice Plus, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that is. This is one that I have grown to like and to find myself recommending more and more. So there's a fruit, veggie, berry, and then the omegas there, which I'll expand on. Number 2 is a vitamin D3 drop, which Shawn mentioned as well. Absolutely critical for insulin sensitivity and for health. Number 3 are the probiotics, and you can get those in fermented foods and also in supplementation form, and that's really for your gut health and immune system health. And then number 4 is an omega blend. So this happens to be a vegan blend, but we'll talk more about it after. Other supplements on an individual basis. And so this is really a beautiful picture of what a whole food supplement could look like. This happens to be Juice Plus, but look at the range of vegetables and fruit and berries that you're getting in these blends, okay? 30 whole foods right in front here. And I'm going to tell you really quickly what appealed to me about this particular whole food product. And you have to do your research to understand how it's different from what's in the health food stores. What I love about this product and this company is that they allow the fruits and the vegetables to ripen to the point of peak nutrition. So it's vine ripened. It's then picked and processed, crushed right away. That means all of the nutrition is intact, right? As much as possible. The whole food is crushed, the whole orange, the pineapple with the core. And what's key about that is there are hundreds of phytonutrients present in the peel, in the stem, in the leaves, in the core, which you would never get just by eating it, let alone taking a multivitamin. That was really key for me, not to mention that it's non-GMO, it's grown without pesticides, it's vegan, it's kosher, it's dairy-free, it's gluten-free. And it also, Sam, you can click forward. I just wanted people to see what it actually looks like. It's literally crushed fruits and vegetables and then dehydrated and put into a capsule form. That's what you want. That's what you're looking for, right? You're looking for something to help bridge the gap in the diet, particularly with fruits and veggies. I've put up here, it's highly bioavailable. That means the body absorbs and uses the nutrients. That is key. That means it's proven to work on a cellular level. You get what you pay for. Next. Okay, right. So just really quickly, I wanted to tell you about how it affected me. So this is really this is ages ago. So that's me as a tired young mom. And gosh, I guess that's about 6 or 7 years ago. My daughter at the time was 18 months, my son 5 years old, and both of them just not great in the fruit and veggie department. And so I looked at all the products in the health food store, and I didn't like what I saw because it had fillers or it had herbs in them, and I just wanted something very simple. And so I called my friend, a nutritionist friend who had told me about Juice Plus, easily 8 years before this sad stage. And I said, I'm going to have to try it out. And I did it for the kids because I could get, Sam, you can click one picture forward. At the bottom of the screen here, you can see there's some vegetable and fruit gummies. So I did it for the kids. I could get free Juice Plus chewables for the children if I ordered for myself. And that's what I did. What I didn't realize is the impact it would have on me. So we talk about mood and energy in this diabetes talk. Here I was thinking, oh, I don't need anything like this. I'm a nutritionist. I eat organic. I try to eat lots of veggies. And here it was within 6 to 8 weeks of taking the concentrated nutrition in these capsules. I woke up one morning and was like, you know what? I feel more resilient to the stress in my life. As a mom, my son is a nonverbal child on the autism spectrum. And my daughter at the time, quite a handful. And so that was the impact it made on me, a fairly healthy person. And so that's why I became quite enamored with recommending a product like this to other people. Next. And so this is part of my story. Juice Plus actually comes near the end of my story, but I started as, in nutrition school because I myself was unhealthy. So that's me on the left in 1997. And 20 years later, that's me on the right. That picture is actually a few years old. And so it was a 20-year journey you're seeing in this picture of how nutrition, food, supplementation, and gut healing made me basically a completely different person. And so what did I experience? Sam, you can click forward to some of the, So improved energy, skin, digestion, gas and bloating, allergies, thinking and clarity, PMS, and weight. All of that changed through changing my diet. And so what I'm suggesting to all of us is, how do we get there? How do we put all of this knowledge into a real life lifestyle, right? Into a program, into a way of living. And so you can go next. We have something actually many of us use as a tool for ourselves, as well as where we motivate people through a group. It is a program called Shred 10. It does not mean shredding 10 pounds per se, but it's really looking at what are 10 habits that we can shift over time and develop these healthier habits so that we are living a lifestyle that actually serves us. It is a fantastic program that puts in most of what any holistic nutritionist would recommend. So just a really quick overview, because I know that you can reach out to anybody who invited you into this webinar tonight for more information. These programs are running regularly. And so I'm just going to quickly let you know that it's flexible. It's for anybody, whether you're vegetarian or you're a meat eater, whether you're diabetic, type 1, type 2, or not, right? What we look at really is increasing the amount of plants that we're eating. And that includes taking those Juice Plus capsules, because that's the extra boost that we need. We include something called complete shakes, and I will talk about this at the next slide. Plenty of water, taking deep breaths and making sure we're getting sleep or working on that, moving our body most days. And then we reduce or eliminate the foods that stress us. So caffeine and alcohol, which, as Shawn mentioned, can also cause a rise in blood sugar. Eating later at night as well. It really wreaks havoc on the hormonal cycle and insulin and sleep. Processed foods. And then as best we can, we eliminate gluten and dairy and artificial and refined sugars. We've got a great guide that goes with it. And we've got the complete shakes, which is what you see here. That's okay, Sam, go ahead. So, and I think, you can ask Samantha about this. She knows a lot about the beautiful smoothie mix that is made by Complete by Juice Plus. It's got a low glycemic load. So when made into a whole food smoothie as well, it's got the glycemic impact of eating broccoli. So that's really, really important. It's vegan and non-GMO. It's gluten-free, dairy-free, plant-based, which is important, and has a significant amount of fiber, which is also what helps balance the blood sugar. Next. Okay, so I just wanted to put up here, I've led this program myself. I know the girls have as well. A number of the testimonials that come through. And I love this because these are people I know. So better energy, better mood, improved mental clarity, less brain fog, less cravings, sugar cravings gone, making better choices, better sleep, better skin, which is amazing. Most people notice that their skin glows or the bumps on the back of their arm disappear. Restless legs at night, gone. Pain in hands and joints, gone. Because we're taking all that inflammatory stuff away. More patient with my spouse and children, bonus. Feeling motivated, feeling inspired. That's huge. That's the stuff that carries you. That's my 20-year success story, is adopting a program or adopting a way of eating and living that's sustainable for the long term, right? That's what's motivating. That's what's inspiring. Next. These are friends. So Jody and Amanda. Next. I think there's one more there. Those are people that, whoops.
I was trying to get the last photo.
Yeah, just hang out for a moment, Sam, on the photos. 1, 2, 3. So these are true success stories. This is not marketed as a weight loss program by any stretch. Weight loss happens to be an end product. When you give your body what it needs and you bring balance to the body through whole food eating and healthy lifestyle habits, a whole bunch of things happen. And weight loss is one of them, can be for some people. Okay, next. Juice Plus is the most researched nutritional product in the world. That may excite you. That may have no bearing on your decision making. But for me, that was important to know that, there was something behind this product. Next. What Juice Plus does, again, you might close your eyes and have a little nap for this part, but the research summarizes really nicely what it does, the impact it has on the body. So it's bioavailable. That means it gets used by the body. It supports immune health, This is one of the number one results people find when they start to take Juice Plus, especially with their kids, is they are sick less. It helps protect the DNA, reduces oxidative stress, hugely important for diabetics, supports healthy skin and gums, also very important, supports a healthy inflammatory response. How helpful, right? To disease prevention and disease management. And last is supports quality of life in cancer survivors. And there's even more research actually since this. So it's well founded. Next. Okay, I wanted to mention really quickly the omegas, because this is an important aspect of managing diabetes and just a healthy blood sugar in general, is providing the body with omegas. Some of the benefits for sure: heart, brain, joints, skin, and eyes. This particular product, and there are others in the health food store, but this one is plant-based. So it's whole foods and it's vegan, pure and sustainable from an environmental perspective. Full spectrum omegas, cold pressed in vegetarian capsules. Next.
Sorry.
We want to say for sure, just like with any product or any program, Juice Plus is not about treating or curing specific conditions or diseases, right? It's simply healthful plant-based nutrition, highly concentrated and supported by research. And that's important. You could go to the health food store, find all sorts of products that claim all sorts of things and don't have the scientific background or backing really to support those claims. And really it's every person, the impact it has, and Samantha will share her story. Just click forward once, Samantha. Yeah, so this is a program called Healthy Starts for Families. Really quickly, I mentioned the fact that I wanted to get our family on the product because my kids could get it for free. It's a huge perk to families. It's a wonderful incentive to help families get on board with bringing whole food nutrition in. I mean, it literally amounts to $3,000 to $4,000 in free product over a period of 4 years. You are entitled to this. There's no catch. You're not giving away your firstborn child. I mean, it is a legit, beautiful program provided by this company to really help people make longer term healthy living changes. Some of the results are listed below: less sick days, kids eating more fruits and veggies, visiting the doctors less, and overall experiencing something positive. And here we are. 7 years later, we continue to take the product, we continue to live a healthy lifestyle, and we are happy and well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. That was amazing. Oh my goodness. And I also, when you were just listing some of those things related to the Shaitan, I'm like, oh my gosh, I never thought about it. I used to get chronic leg pain. My mom can attest. I'd wake up out of a sound sleep with my legs cramped, and I had no idea what was going on. And sometimes it would happen to both calves simultaneously, and I don't have that anymore. So that's cool. So imagine this: you're age 17, you play every sport under the sun, you're on summer break, you're working in a garden center of a grocery store, and you're running around busily helping customers. You're lugging huge bags of soil, plant material, and you're really feeling really parched, like constantly. You're developing nice muscles though, and all the strength from lifting all that, those big bags, and you're dropping weight at the same time. You think you're just thirsty from it being like the hottest part of the summer. After all, it is August. But suddenly that thirst becomes so strong on the daily that you find you just can't chug enough liquids to satisfy you. You're drinking everything in sight. And unfortunately, it means like a gazillion trips to the washroom with the fear that you're not even going to be able to make it in time. Going to the washroom at work means running through a main grocery store where you're greeted with super bright lights, like literally that almost blind you. And like, do you ever feel thirsty? Oh my gosh. One day you're at the cottage, you're enjoying a beautiful day off, and when suddenly you just become really unwell. You throw up and you feel super dizzy with feelings you just simply can't explain. You turn to your father, sorry, I'm gonna get teary, and say, Dad, something's not right. I need you to take me to the hospital. So, as you can see, that person's experience was mine. And that visit to the hospital resulted in a diagnosis of type 1. Sorry. My husband's giving me Kleenex. Thanks, Hubs. Sorry, every so often it just comes over me. But it really did change my life forever. That day, and this is why I become teary, that day that I was diagnosed, I was 45. My blood sugar was 45 when I should have been between 4 and 6. And considering all of that, like the fact that I was coherent and standing upright as described by my new endocrinologist, Dr. Alex McKenzie. I mean, it was that day and the weeks following that I quickly learned just how strong and how capable I truly was. And that's why the tears, yes, scary, but so unbelievable what came out of this for me. So back then we had what's called VON nurses. And so they did home visits. And that first week, the nurse would come and they trained my mom and I on what diabetes management would look like. And she really wanted to teach my mother how to manually inject me with insulin. And I literally shut it down at the first outset. I'm like exclaiming, like, this is my condition. I need to know how to do this and no one else can do it for me. My mom literally just sat back watching and just thinking, oh my gosh, like she's taking it head on like a champ. And this was only the beginning. My mom was a rock star and she took me into Ottawa where my regular visits were happening at Sick Kids Hospital, which is where I met with my healthcare team. And for those of you who don't know Sick Kids, it's equivalent to, if you don't know CHEO, it should say CHEO, that's Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario, which is like Sick Kids here in Toronto. And so luckily I have to say my endocrinologist was super cool. He had 4 kids. He wore khakis and he rollerbladed to work. Like, how cool is that? He was a little bit nice to look at as well, which that helped. But he was incredibly funny and he had such a gift of making my appointments not so daunting. The beautiful thing is that my mom also had a major gift, so many gifts, but what she did, she made these appointment days for me. I have to look at my notes because there's so many things that I want to remember. But she made them days that I actually look forward to, which is unbelievable. Like to be able to add in some element of fun into the day instead of days to be dreaded. Something I still practice to this day and have friends that now follow suit when they have special appointments or doctor's appointments. But when I look at it, when I look back, I really do realize that I was meant to develop type 1. You see, there is a shiny layer. There's a shiny silver lining. And having type 1 has actually allowed me to step into my greatness as an empowered woman who's strong, determined, incredibly driven. Anybody who knows me, I'm responsible, like super responsible, resilient, mindful, resourceful, optimistic, and to be a mentor to other diabetics. I helped create a support group while I was at Queen's, where I did my undergrad. And so I did this for other type 1 diabetics. And I also did some local volunteering at a hospital by the name of Hotel Dieu. And while I was there, I was helping specifically adolescents who were really struggling with the newfound responsibilities, also known as type 1D or T1D, otherwise known as type 1. And after a few years of me managing my diabetes with manual injections, I actually decided in second year that I was ready. I was going to take on a really brave and thrilling leap, so to start on an insulin pump. And it really allowed me to take my blood sugar control to that next level. And in turn, I gained back some of my stolen freedom. It had stolen away from me and taken away from me so many years. And looking at that, like since I was a little girl, I knew I wanted children of my own. And as a diabetic, this was not going to stop me or stand in my way. So it never even crossed my mind that I couldn't have children. I knew it was all about how I managed my diabetes. My insulin pump became my biggest asset in my toolbox, along with my positivity, being physically fit, and my determination for tight control. I managed to have 2 healthy pregnancies, 2 sugar babies, as we like to call them, with my husband, Michael. And our 2 girls are now ages 8 as of this Friday and 5.5. And if it wasn't without these challenges, you know, like honestly, it wasn't easy. It was anything but easy for me, let me tell you. But thank God for my pump. I'm so thankful. I'm thankful for a continuous glucose monitoring system, otherwise known as a CGM, but also the incredible healthcare team at Sunnybrook Hospital. If you could have seen some of my appointments, the amount of practitioners they were able to fit into a room because it's a teaching hospital. But I gained so much and I was able to teach them at the same point. And that was just such a gift, right? For me to be able to maintain incredible glucose control during both times. And so I'm here to tell you that it is possible. There's lots of diabetics out there, females who think that they can never have children, and I'm living proof. gonna get teary. However, without fail, and every fall and winter, I would develop chronic bronchitis and often would get strep throat, tonsillitis, too many colds to count. I'd be on antibiotics and puffers and just frustrated that this was my sudden reality. And like, honestly, I just thought this was just going to be the way it was, that I'm going to have to live with this because I have a compromised immune system. But it also got a lot more difficult, you know, with 2 children and becoming a mother. I not only had to care for myself as a sick diabetic, which obviously takes on a whole other level of what care is required, but I also had to take care of my children. And then when our eldest, Izzy is her name, who was only 2 years at the time, she developed bronchitis, and a few times, like in the course of a winter, as well as pneumonia at age 2. So you can honestly imagine what I'm thinking, like, oh my gosh, she's going down my path. She also had like frequent flare-ups. We didn't even know what it was. We thought it was a food allergy where around her mouth, she was getting these really bright red patches, and it was eczema. And then she was also developing psoriasis. And anybody who knows, that's a form of inflammation that's happening inside the body, an immune response. But then you add in a second child into this whole mix, and they together would bring home all sorts of things, everything under the sun. They would so lovingly share with me, don't be jealous. So unlike my husband, it just seemed like the 3 of us were always so sick every fall, winter. And I'm just so grateful that my friend Melissa, who's on this call with us tonight, who I introduced, she's like, Sam, here, there's some fruit and veggie gummies. I want your girls to try them, see how they like them. Well, they not only had them, they loved them, they wanted to keep eating them, which was news to my ears. But the cool part is that it also filled in the gaps with their picky eating, because they're human, of course. They picked their super favorites of fruits and veg, but then they were very limited in what they would have. So the beautiful thing is it didn't just fill in the gaps, but at the same time, it was providing them with the immune support. But also, I have to say, the fact that there was less and is less than 1 gram of sugar per gummy, as a diabetic who's always concerned about sugar, amazing, because let's be honest, most multivitamins and gummies out there, the first ingredient is sugar. So I decided to take a leap. I'm going to start them on it. Why not? Soon after, their health really started to improve. The cool part is they weren't the sickies all the time. Like, there was moments where their classmates were dropping like flies, and my kids were the ones that were healthy. And I shouldn't smile because, of course, I was sad that those kids were sick, but I was just super proud that me as a mom, I was doing everything in my power to really help them, you know, help support their immune system. And the cool part is that Izzy wasn't having these eczema flare-ups in the wintertime and in the summertime when she would be under hot sun. But with all that said, the winter of 2017, I personally had the scariest winter of my life. I'll never forget it. I developed pneumonia twice, gasping for air, and surviving on antibiotics and puffers. Like, I also, in between those moments of what I just described to you, I had tonsillitis, strep throat, 2 bouts of pneumonia, as I say, but all of those things combined in between one winter was just, it was just hell. There's no other word for it. It was awful. But you can imagine with that, it really rocked my confidence. And my fears really did start to set in, and I just couldn't handle the thought, like, of another winter like this. I literally said to my husband, Mike, we're packing our bags. Our whole family, we're going to have to pack up, and we're moving to Hawaii, which has always been my dream hot place to vacation in. But honestly, I thought that's what it was going to take. And so with all of that said, Mel came back to me and she just reminded me. She's like, you know what? It's great. Your girls are reaping all the benefits. They're doing awesome. However, you're not doing awesome. Let's be honest. Like, if the mother of the house goes down, then let's be honest, what happens to the household? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. The mothership goes down and the whole household goes with it. And she was right. And the fact is, I'm a solo entrepreneur. I was at the time. And so I work on my own. So if I couldn't work, you know, I wasn't able to bring in money. And these were really harsh reminders for me, coupled with the fact that I'd have a summer of a whole lot of indulging, let's be honest, because I'm human. Yes, I'm diabetic and I'm very well controlled. But there was this one specific summer, living the life of a cottage, or a cottager, I should say. And I realized I wasn't feeling great. I started having just really bad gas and bloating again, and my skin breakouts. And I just noticed, considering I'm a healthy diabetic, I was allowing my health to be really compromised. And so with that, I had been researching to figure out what I could do in the way of a healthy cleanse. There was a lot out on the market, but I just knew that I needed to do something that would basically put me on better footing. So with that, I looked into these cleanses. I looked into keto, took them to my endocrinologist who was caring for me at the time, and he just shook his head. He's like, no, these aren't safe for you. So when I showed him the Shred 10, he was like immediately impressed. His reaction was, oh my gosh, Samantha, this is what everybody should be taking. But the fact is that it's sustainable and it's not restrictive. And that's huge for a diabetic. But little did I realize what me taking on this September Shred 10 challenge was going to do for me. It literally kickstarted my health. It started like a healthy living revolution, which I just shake my head. It's just amazing. And the fact is that I choose my health every single day, not just when it's convenient for me. And I found a new and improved way of thinking. I have a much better relationship with food, and I'm choosing foods that really allow me as a diabetic to thrive. And that's so important because I've always been somebody who loves to be in the kitchen creating. But now I'm actually doing it in a way where I'm using foods that Shawn and Susan were talking about, specifically Shawn, foods that are anti-inflammatory, foods that are better for lowering my blood sugar rather than spiking my blood sugar. And the fact is that this is allowing me to not only reap the benefits, but also my family, right? And the cool part is that I'm able to share this with other people. I'm on my Instagram account at One Vibrant Diabetic, which I have on the page here. But I can share that with others, and hopefully inspire you in the process to eat healthier. But the key is with all of this, I'm not just nourishing myself from, just the foods that I'm eating. I'm able to really nourish my body from the inside out. And with that has come just incredible, an improved sense of self, really, I have to say, because it means that I have an improved body image. I have more self-confidence overall and self-empowerment because I know I'm doing so much for myself. But I continue to be a positive role mama, for my 2 little girls and for my husband, empowering them to make healthier choices. My husband now is back pretty much running every single day. My girls are really starting to pick and choose as to what they are choosing to eat, and they're eating a larger variety, as Susan was talking about. And I'm just such a proud mom and a proud wife. So you can see it's not just about the health habits that I'm now taking on. It's the fact that it's starting at a deeper level. I'm impacting the whole entire family from such a young age. And I feel like I'm giving them the biggest gift that I could give them. I'm giving them their health, but I'm also giving them a healthier version of myself, both physically and mentally. And the thing is that I always considered myself super healthy. Overall, I was a runner. I ate a balanced diet. I worked out a lot. So, I was fit and I had a good A1C. But as I mentioned, I did indulge, often more than I'd like to admit. But I was suffering, as I mentioned, from frequent gas and bloating. And I just didn't feel great. And so this basically got to a point where I could take on this healthy cleanse and really allow myself to give it what it needed to thrive. And the cool part is within 6 days, I started noticing these things, these symptoms that maybe I noticed before, or they were sort of subtle. And I just thought, oh, that's normal. I'm diabetic. I guess I'm just supposed to have that. And then I realized that's not necessarily the case. So like Susan, I was having so much more energy when I'd wake up. My blood sugar all of a sudden wasn't like this. It was more like this. I'm going to be truthful. I have better regular bowel movements. Why is that important? It's important for everybody because it means you're able to eliminate, you're getting rid of toxins in your body. But it also meant that my belly bloat was able to go away. And this brain fog that I was constantly dealing with, it suddenly was going away and totally diminished. But the cool part is that being a physically fit athlete, I was noticing that I was able to recover faster from my workouts. So I wasn't tired as much during the runs that I was taking, but also after the fact, I wasn't as sore. So the reason that I continue to do this every month, I'm over 2 years strong, almost doing it every month. It's a reset for me. So I know that, I'm human. There's the odd time that I'm going to do a little bit more indulging than I care to. But then I start to feel these symptoms creep back, and I know every single month it's a way for me to get back on track. And so I would love to share more tips and tricks. I invite you to follow me. But with that said, I'm just going to say that while my insulin pump maintains to be one of my biggest assets, the best decisions of my life, it's only one factor in my overall success. See, my devotion to a whole food nutrition, daily movement, and embracing healthy habits, daily habits, and self-care have been the recipe for my success. And it all comes back to a healthy mindset. And when I saw what it was doing for my family's health, it just made sense. It made sense because I want my friends and my family to feel as good as I do, but also to reap the benefits. And especially those, some of you who are on the call tonight, who are, maybe have a compromised immune system like I do, or maybe busy parents that are just really struggling to deal with kids who are picky eaters and frequently sick. So to share the gift of health has become my ultimate mission in life. And with that, I'm just going to read a couple because we only have a few minutes left. But so this is Jane. And she says, my whole maternal line has had diabetes. My mom got it when she was pregnant with my brother, and it didn't go away. Her uncle had it, and her sister's daughter got it at 13 and died from it at 25. Keeping my blood sugar stable is so important to me. I take my JP every day and eat relatively healthy. My A1C has been normal since 2014 when I started JP. When my doctor told me I had gestational diabetes, I sobbed and I screamed. This disease has been traumatic for me all my life. And I have to say, Juice Plus has been a sense of security, and the fact that I know I'm keeping inflammation down and keeping my body giving my body the nutritional foundation to work as well as it can so that this disease can be kept in control. And one other person said, I've had type 1 since 9 and 67 now. Do the math. Kidneys, thankfully, still functioning very well, but I've been on Juice Plus for 3+ years and I'm level. The research study on taking the Vineyard blend showing major improvement in health of the arteries, that alone convinced me to take it the rest of my life living with this disease. I take it now, all good news. That's from Benjamin Weiss. And lastly, from Andrea. I had gestational diabetes just recently and did the Shred 10, and my numbers were great. I also drank the shakes, which helped my cravings, which I can attest, and I can say that has been my game changer. So with that, before we close out, I just want to say and ask you a question. Are you personally looking to feel more energetic and empowered as a diabetic? Because if that's the case, I am introducing a health program that's designed for diabetics, just like me, but it's designed by me. And it's with that, it's going to give you daily program guidelines to follow, blood sugar management tips and tricks, daily accountability, because it's on the accountability, with recipes and grocery lists with diabetic foods so that you will thrive. We'll be having live food demos and health and wellness guest speakers, as well as workouts that are catered to being insulin sensitive, and a diabetic community to cheer you on. So if you're interested, reach out to the person who invited you here tonight or to me personally, Samantha@samanthagrieve.com, and that's going to be launching February 1st. So I want to thank you for attending. I know we're a little bit over, but as you can see, we're super passionate about what we have to share with you. We want to thank you all. I hope you learned a lot. I know that I even learned a lot here tonight, and you're feeling inspired and you're feeling empowered. I want to give a huge, huge thank you to Susan Baker and Shawn Nisbet, honestly, for sharing your incredible knowledge, but you do it in such a easy to understand way. And Melissa Sege, thank you also for doing what you're doing in terms of answering any questions now and then after the presentation. So please be sure to get back in touch with the person who invited you here tonight. They clearly care a lot about your health to invite you. So thank you. It's been such a pleasure, and I'm just grateful for each and every one of you being here tonight. So with that, I'm just going to get out of the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. Thank you to everyone. I just have a couple questions that are in the chat. Shawn, I answered a lot of them, but I wanted to just, there was one specifically that I'm not comfortable answering, but how much vitamin D do you suggest for people with type 1?
Well, first of all, it's not just type 1. It would be for anybody. When you go to your doctor or naturopath, legally, they can only say 1,000 to 2,000 IU, and that's usually in a pill form or a liquid. I prefer liquid. When it comes to vitamin D, no, we're not allowed to really prescribe. But I like the 4,000 range, but I also like to see blood work. So I've had people come to my office, they've been taking 4,000 or 5,000 IU a day, and their vitamin D is still low because they may have been using a poor quality vitamin D capsule, and they've been wasting their time for months, if not years, and then we put them on a good quality liquid and it goes up. So knowing your number is really, really important, and then taking enough. And as I said, even though I teach outdoors all summer, but I'm not out in the sun, 80% of my skin exposed. In the summer, it might be, my face and my arms. So I do like those numbers. Don't go higher, and make sure that you get a blood test to know what you're taking, what it's doing for you. Children, much lower. That would be for adults.
I was just going to add to that, Shawn, if you can imagine, everybody, that the range therapeutically can be, excuse me, from 3 to 10,000 IU in order, based on somebody's individual blood work, in order to get them up to a healthy level again. And then at that point, as Shawn said, you can get tested again, and then you get into a more of a maintenance mode.
Yeah, awesome. And then this was a question. So the idea of taking fruits and vegetables whole also has to do with the fiber and the process of breakdown that helps the body. So how does the blended supplement maintain the fiber needed to for eating healthy and digestion breakdown? Anybody?
Sorry, Melissa, can you repeat that or rephrase it?
How does the blended supplement maintain the fiber needed for healthy eating and digestive breakdown? So essentially, speak to the fiber, Susan.
I think the question is referring specifically to the capsules?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's what's unique about, well, it's not unique, but it is one of the characteristics of the Juice Plus capsules is that it is not a specific source of fiber. That's not what the capsules are about. So the capsules are, I'll get mine out here. The capsules are literally the concentrated phytonutrients. I mean, how amazing is that? So, you know, the hundreds and thousands that are in the 30 different fruits and vegetables and berries that go into these blends, that's what they're concentrating. So they're dehydrating the pulp, right? They crush the whole fruit, veg, berry. They crush it, right, into a pulp. They dehydrate that pulp, and it leaves the powder. And so the powder is the concentrated nutrition. The powder is not carbohydrate, which is why it's brilliant and beautiful for diabetics. Okay, so the powder is not carbohydrate, it is not protein, it is not fat. It is literally vitamins, minerals, and those phytonutrients, hundreds and thousands. That's just all that Juice Plus is, and that's why we recommend it as an alternative to a multivitamin, because it is unique for that reason.
Thanks, Susan. I was gonna type something and I was like, no, I'm just gonna let someone speak to that. And then Shawn, I just thought that maybe you could speak to the soy in the complete and why the soy in the complete is actually a beneficial soy.
Well, it's interesting. So the complete has 4 different protein sources, and one of those protein sources is soy, which I actually love for many reasons. So people think that soy drives cancer. That was flawed studies. They're now coming to light for that. What it is soy can increase cancer as much as GMO-free soy can decrease cancer. So you really want the GMO-free soy. Soy has a phytoestrogen. They thought that that estrogen was going to increase your estrogen, which estrogen increases cellular growth, which is not good when you have cancer. But as they found all over the world, and they now know that it is a phytoestrogen, which we spell P-H-Y-T-O, phytoestrogen, but I spell it F-I-G-H-T-O, phyto, because it's fighting for you. So having that soy, now not everybody can digest soy, there's a small percentage that can't, but for those, I love it for those reasons, because it actually stabilizes your estrogen instead of it going higher, and it's a higher estrogen that drives cancer. The phytoestrogens fight for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's all the questions that are in the chat. If anyone has any other questions and you'd like to ask it here, I guess we'll stay on for maybe 5 more minutes and then we can wrap up. If you have to leave, obviously you can log off, but otherwise, thanks for the amazing presentation, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you for answering these questions.
Melissa, did you have any interesting questions come through?
No, there was just basically, there was one around the Tower Garden tonic, I think. And just how, speaking to Susan's point about how much of the soil is depleted, how the Tower tonic will provide the nutrient density within the plants.
I think that slide that Susan brought up, I love that slide. There's one on apples too, where it's 26 apples today, conventionally grown, was 1 apple in 1950. People don't realize back in the 1950s, they didn't test phytonutrients. We've the ones who turned our eating into a scientific experiment, but they did test things like iron and vitamin C and the basics. So they had those studies done. Now when they're testing food, they see how much more. So we as nutritionists think we're eating well, and all of a sudden we realize we're not. Until you make a change in your diet, we don't know how good we can feel. So we think we're feeling well, and then we add some things into our diet, and you go, oh, that's how I was supposed to feel. Especially us over 25. We think that we're supposed to be feeling yucky as we get older, and you're going, no, we actually are feeling better when we bring all those phytonutrients into our diet each and every day.
It's a great way to say it, because that's the thing. And that's what I said tonight. Like, I used to think, oh, I eat so well, I feel great, until I felt a lot better. And then I realized, oh my gosh, yeah, I was having, like Cora, who is on the call tonight, when I look back, we worked together many years, but there was always that time of day around 3 o'clock where we'd look at each other and I'm like, coffee time, something sweet, and of course indulging in things that I shouldn't have. Or she can tell me I would, at that stage I was going through the bar stage, eating these bars that I thought were so healthy. But yeah, you don't realize your habits until all of a sudden things start to shift. When you start craving, I'm not craving what I used to crave. I'm craving more like apples and peanut butter and things that I know my body needs more of, right? That I feel good after I eat it.
I think people think that as you are maturing and aging, that it's supposed to bring pain and discomfort, and it's really not. It's how you're aging. It's the oxidative stress. Like, what is oxidative stress? It's aging. That's what gives us wrinkles and gray hair. Oxidative stress is like us who used to have cars that would get rusty. So the oxygen on the cars would cause rust. The oxygen on us, it's just a normal thing of life. Oxidative stress is anything happening in your body in the state of with oxygen while we're all breathing. It's just you have to bring in more antioxidants to fight that aging process. And that's what we want, let alone the disease process, which is elevated oxidative stress. Everything is oxidative stress. And that's why we bring in antioxidants. Simple, simple.
Especially right now when our bodies are under so much more stress.
Oh my goodness.
So much more stress, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with the Tower Tonic, bring back the nutritional value of the produce to that of the level of the 1950s produce.
Yes. So what they've done is they've done studies on the produce coming from a tower garden and the produce coming from the soiled best organic farms, and the nutritional value is the same. Then when I saw that impressed me. I've had my tower for 5 years, growing 5 years nonstop. So yeah.
Yeah, and I love that I can, like, in the middle of winter, just pick what I need and know that, like, your produce hasn't traveled anywhere, right? Like, it's literally traveled from the plant to your plate, and that's the nutrient density that you're getting, and that probably plays into why the nutrient value is so much higher. So, yeah.
I call it the best chia plant in the world.
Totally.
Chia.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Okay, well, I don't see any more questions, so I think we'll wrap up. Sam, are you good?
Oh, I'm great. I'm just feeling so thankful. And it's just, yeah, my cup is full. Just,
Awesome.
Just to spread awareness is just so important, right? There's just so much to diabetes and to all the different types that Shawn touched on. So you just did a fantastic job. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. And be sure to circle back to the person who invited you. They can answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Sam.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.